gamers, today we got a little series that you guys liked when I did it with Women to Coacher to Conqueror, but now we're taking the next step. Valdemar reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to maybe help me a little bit, maybe do some coaching? And I said, let's do it. So, Valdemar right now, for those that, if you maybe don't know, he's a top level Conqueror player. And I think he's looking to make that next step into the, potentially pro gaming to try to compete. He's been practicing really hard. Now, the reason I don't do these too often, or very rarely, is because I feel like most other people don't really commit and don't really give it their all. But when I saw with, the last tournament, he played qualifiers, he didn't manage to qualify. And the next day, he instantly played more custom games. And I was like, okay, he's trying his best. He's improving. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump in the call with him. I'm going to share my screen. And then we're going to go through some of his replays and see what he can do better.
Hello, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
First things first, what is your goal with this? Are you just looking to improve a bit? Are you looking to compete? Are you trying to get to the, as people call it, the big boys league?
I think there are multiple goals, honestly. So what I primarily do is not necessarily tournament games, though I really would like to get better in the tournament setting for sure. What I also do a lot is coaching myself and actually having a really good time with that. So there is multiple goals. Most of it is just getting better myself so I can keep sharing and build up, my own knowledge and to share it with more people.
All right. So I'll share my screen so you can watch in full time, so you don't have to watch with delay on stream.
Awesome.
So you know where I'm at.
So yesterday, I obviously told you that I was playing a bit with Numadon, and then I just got a BO3 in with Vortex just an hour ago. So that was also some good games. That we can also... Yeah, I did one game. That was fine. But also a good matchup. But yeah, that is something that I definitely want to analyze. Because it is in those fast-paced games that I think there's the most value.
Yeah, so you want to do the Vortex series then?
Yes, let's do the Vortex series and analyze those. All
right, let's get started with the last one, Delhi versus Mongol, and we'll go from there.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, so I always, tell this to my stream, but there's a big difference between ladder, even custom games, and then even tournament games, right? I think ladder games, people try out a lot of stuff, and maybe I feel like most players don't play as aggressive on the ladder. They maybe because I noticed this with myself as well. When I play, I'm do I just all in or do I age up and play it safe? And I always kind of choose to age up. But in tournaments, people just kind of go for it, and one mistake and you're out. So since guys, he's not, when I was coaching Wem and she just started out playing, so I was pointing out okay, you want to build your house here and stuff like that, or put this many villagers on this resource. This is going to be a bit more, advanced. So we're not going to go through the very basics, but I'll just look through the potential mistakes he's making. I'll just look through your point of view as well, so that,
Yeah, and the same here, as if you have any questions to me why I made different decisions, just let me know and I'll try to explain it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so gold and double bears in the front. Okay.
Yeah, everything's in the front here, and for me the decision was, do I go for Dark Age Barracks or do I just YOLO it and go Feudal Age, go for the archer range and just try to play around the tower? And it felt pretty good in the first 8-10 minutes, I would actually say. And then the tower got taken out, but then it's really more in the fight that it sort of matters, and me not really being able to take out the trade. I think those are the main issues in this game.
Okay, I think Mongol is pretty good in this matchup. Or sorry, Delhi is pretty good in this matchup. Because Ghazi Raiders, you basically have better eco than Mongol before the trade fully kicks in. So you should have more Ghazi Raiders than they have Keshiks. And the Keshiks also cost gold, right? And you're just kind of food spamming units. Regarding the barracks, I feel like you don't need it. You can just destroy the tower with villagers and use the healing. So I don't think you go for barracks here.
That is a good point.
So
can you elaborate a little bit on the point on the Keshik and the Ghazi Raider? What do you mean by that?
if Mongol doesn't put pressure on the opponent, they're not going to outproduce them. So what I mean by that is, like, for Mongol to outproduce the Civ, they need to block the gold so the enemy doesn't have, like, economic upgrades, or block the stone so the enemy can get a second TC. But if the game is even, like, let's say the Mongols don't tower rush, they will probably not do too well in most matchups because their economy is simply, like, they don't really have any bonuses, right? They can go for deer stones, but it's not really that great. And Delhi, because you don't pay for upgrades, you should, you will have more units because you are a Civ that basically spams the most units in the game with maybe Malians. So you should be able to just have way more units, and Ghazi Raiders are extremely good because also Kashyyyks have lower HP, so you can kind of just dent them in.
Right, as well the +2 soft counter as well.
Yeah. So like one, you know, Kashyyyk will beat a Ghazi Raider, but for equal resource and the fact that you don't spend the resources on upgrades, you should be able to win that easily. Now, one thing I do, or you don't need to necessarily against Mongol, you can get another 130 gold for Scholar, but it will obviously delay your feudal. So you can just play with one Scholar like this, and then when you age up, then just go back to gold and get, you know, 1 or 2 more Scholars. So the most important thing is to not get towered, because you have a healer, so you should never lose villagers. Like, even if you're fighting 4 spearmen, you should not lose a villager with healing and just a little bit of micro.
Okay. So you're suggesting staying on the berries and then just trying to deal with the tower with 1 Scholar?
Yeah, like, just let him build,
Scholar.
and then at like 70% just pull 10 villagers and burn it down while aging up. And then the moment you age up, you want to have enough wood for an archer range, and you immediately pop an archer. You use Scholar to, you know, make it really fast, and that's pretty much it. And if you do that, right, then the Mongol invested into a tower rush that didn't do anything. Then he has spearmen that are not going to do anything right now, and you already have archers. So then from then on, you can kind of play greedy. You can open with like even double blacksmith if you want, because you have a lot of like free time to do whatever you want, because he still needs to age up, and then he needs to make stables, then he needs to get you know, trade going, so you have like 3 to 4 minutes to do whatever you want.
There's a little bit of a window there once the tower has been denied with the archers, for sure.
Yeah. Like, depending on the spawn, you could just ignore the tower completely, and then just later on just send like 20 Ghazis and, you know, torch it in 2 seconds. So it's very spawn dependent, but here, because your gold is forward, I would definitely try to defend that position. Like, if your berries are in the front and you gathered like 2 berry bushes like now, and your gold is in the back, I'd probably just say just ignore the tower, you know. But he's kind of blocking the second berry spawn as well. And now you're entering like a very dangerous territory where if you get denied the bottom side, you just auto lose the game. So if he just makes units now and rallies to the bottom 2 deer packs, you lost the game. Because you're gonna run out of food and, well, that's it. So
yeah, that's definitely interesting, because I was thinking about that during the game. I mean, obviously the decision between do I go barracks opener or not, we've discussed that now, of course, but more in terms of the spawn, where everything that I need in this game is actually to the bottom. And I do think, based on my unit movement, you'll see the way that I prioritize the sacred sites probably wasn't the best direction, splitting it up into 2 instead of moving eco and army together. It was more splitting eco and army, so it also forces me into towers. I just realized now maybe going for the bottom was better.
So like, another thing is, I've tried this so many times, because this used to be... When did you start playing AOE4?
Me? I played since release, but
Since
didn't
release?
take it seriously until late 2022.
This used to be a very popular matchup. So I've played this matchup many times, and basically, like, even if, let's say your gold was where your stone is, like that side, if he towers between the gold and the wood line, you already lost if it goes up. Because then you have to move your villagers, then Kashyyyk arrive, the other wood line is too far away, and that's like already game over. So the worst thing you can actually have happen to is getting the wood line blocked by Mongol. Because that is just a complete disaster. So, yeah. Now, if you got a second Scholar out, and you decide to give up on the tower, that's fine too. But the fact that you only have 1, your upgrades are going to be pretty slow, and obviously if you try to capture Sacred Sites and you lose that one scholar, that's really, really bad. Okay. So now in this situation, sorry to interrupt, in this situation I wouldn't have gone archer range. I would have just gone Ghazi Raiders immediately and counterattack him. Because you didn't defend the tower rush, unless he is still tower rushing. So if he had a villager now he's trying to tower rush your woodline, yeah, you go archer range. But at this point, you already, like, the tower's already there. The archers won't do anything. So the correct choice here is to go Ghazi Raiders and attack across the map, similar to how you would attack Malians, you know, on their gold pit mine. Even if he makes spearmen here, 1 or 2 spearmen are not going to defend. And if he uses all the stone to make spearmen, then he's not going to have Keshiks or archers after. So even though you force him to make spears, you force him to use stone. And then obviously the trade cannot go up because you can just attack it with Ghazi Raiders. So then you're putting him in this like weird position where, you know, nothing's really happening for him or for you, but that's fine because you're getting upgrades, right?
Yeah, so you kind of just you don't really catch much about the spearman because movement speed, and then if they decide to go for multiple,
yeah, I mean he has no
stone.
Walls, so.
Oh yeah.
So you
but
can
you
do
talked
whatever
about
you
that
want.
Keshik Ghazi Raider thing with equal resources, and you know how Ghazi Raiders are supposed to win. So if you force them to put more stone into the spearman production,
Spearman, then he's gonna have even less Keshiks, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what you're trying to do here. Okay,
Like
that
he
makes
can't,
a lot of
he
sense.
should never touch your Ghazi Raiders with his spearmen. So this matchup is Ghazi Raiders versus Keshiks, which is why, in my opinion, is so favorable for Delhi, because he has no chance of getting a proper engagement, and because you have walls and he doesn't, you can always pick the engagements. So if you don't want to fight, you just run away. And then the weakness is that he has traders, which you can always kill. And you don't, like, if your economy is solid behind, your economy is in one spot. So he can't really break that. Yeah, if you go Spearman here, you're putting yourself in like a very, very defensive position, and now he's just gonna trade for free, right? There's no pressure. Okay. Like I would also probably, if you're playing like this, like super passive, you can just go double blacksmith. If you, with Ghazi Raiders, I would probably just go 1 blacksmith and then immediately stable. Or immediately stable and then blacksmith. But yeah, right now, if you had Ghazi Raiders, this trade or this silver tree would not go up at all. So it would stay there. And you can see he's producing double Keshik now. And soon he's going to have for another double Keshik. So.
And that's what you want.
As a Mongol, yeah, not. You want him to use the stone on the spears instead.
Yes, just like we talked about. Yeah, makes sense.
So, one of the things that at the like top level, Delhi don't really wall off sacred sites as much anymore. The reason for that is, so this costs you about 160 wood, maybe less, like 130 to 160 wood to wall off. So instead of doing that, you can get another Ghazi Raider, for example, basically. And if you are multitasking well, then you don't need walls to defend the sacred sites. And also, this is not a matchup where you win with sacred site win. Like, you can just kill Mongol or make them run out of food or resources or whatever. So, against China, for example, you do go for sacred site and you go for walls because you're most of the time you're banking on winning with sacred site, so you cannot afford for it to be decapped. But against civilization that is, you know, very active and you want to trade and eventually one of you will run out of food, you can wall off sacred sites, but the walls won't help you, right? So the only time the wall will help you is if you don't pay attention. If you're paying attention, then having more army is always better, especially if he comes to decap with a full army, right? So let's say it's, you know, 10 minutes from now and he comes with 30 units. The wall is not going to do much. It just delays the army for like 5 seconds and that's it. But if you have a situation where 2 sacred sites are like this at the top, and then 1 sacred site is where this relic is, where it's like it's so far away that you don't want to send units there to decap, you can wall off that one and you can fight around the other 2, basically.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. What about in this situation, let's say that was the case with the sacred side, and we have all the food in the bottom? Is it the same idea here that we're trying to play it straight feudal and just keep it in feudal and try to win in feudal with a spawn like this?
I mean, so the thing is with Mongols is they can't wall, so they can't slow down the game. So he cannot just like go castle, because you can just go and kill him, right? And he also needs to go on the outside food. So no matter what, in this specific matchup, you would mass units. For sure. Okay. Because your win condition, I mean, it can be sacred sites, and it can be aging up, but you don't need to, because your civ is better in feudal. So you also have a 20% attack speed on archers. So if the game ever revolves around archer mass of like 60-70, you just win that game anyway. Because, well, your archers permanently have attack speed, and his have like activation for a few seconds, right? And in this matchup, like I said, and in these spawns, you cannot afford to lose the map control because all your food is in the same spot. So you have to commit basically.
Nice.
So right now, if you compare the units, right? If you compare the unit count you have in the middle, if you actually took all the units and went and attacked his trade and wall off his trade post and wall off the bottom trade post, that would have been much better wood spend than walling off sacred sites. Like, just compare the armies. Not full armies. He doesn't have 5 spearmen there. He has them in the back, which are useless, right? They don't do anything. So the army count right now is 10 archers, 6 spearmen versus 4 Keshiks and 2 archers. And this is part of the reason why Mongol is not good in this matchup. Like, he cannot keep up with the production at all. So, yeah.
Opening you talked about before, right?
Sorry?
That's that time 3 minutes something you talked about before.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like he... First of all, if he even wants to play long term, he needs to get all eco upgrades. If he gets all eco upgrades, he has even less units. So right now, I don't know the exact resource count, but instead of 10 archers, 7 spearmen, you could have had, like, let's say 8 Gazi Raiders, which would result in the same thing. He cannot kill that in any way. So even if you went archer, spearman, like I would have just walled here, do a mini wall, and then just do a full wall here on this side. And then what you do, and this is like, you know, some people don't pay attention to this, but then he's forced to go to the bottom sacred side or fight. If he comes here to break the sorry, not sacred side, the neutral trade post. If he comes to break the walls, you can just attack him on his Zuvu because his army saw the position. If he switches the trading to the bottom, that's perfect. The reason that's perfect, do you know why? In that situation for you.
I think you should explain it.
It's because all your food is at the bottom. So if you rally here in between all these food sources and you're fighting on the neutral trade post, you're basically fighting in your own base. And he needs to rally to the other side of the map. So he's going to have even less units. Yeah, and you're protecting your food. So then
the supply line's a lot shorter, you get your units out there a lot faster, so even though you're taking a fight where he has 60 units, you have 50, 10 of them will still be going over the map.
Right. And then his deer pack is on the top, so at any point if you send 2 Gazi Raiders, you can make him idle his eco. And your eco is going to be not idle at all, plus you have all the upgrades. You can see right now, he's trying to pick off units. Like, he knows he cannot fight this at all. So he's just trying to pick off units while making more units behind it. Okay. So this is what I mean, right? You walled, but now when the army arrives, the walls don't really do anything. Like, he's just gonna get delayed by a bit. So instead of making these walls, you could have had, let's say, 3 more archers for this sacred site and 3 more archers for this sacred site. So you could have been at 22 archers right now instead of making walls. And then he can't decap anyway because you have more units.
And I was, you know, planning on taking a fight here anyway, so having more units would have made more sense.
Right, that's my point, right? Like, see, that's the thing. If you were like rushing castle and you're like, oh, I just want to delay him decapping, like, okay, sure, but you're gonna fight anyway, like you said. So the walls are literally doing nothing. You could potentially like go inside and fight from inside, you know, but it's like it's not really needed. Again, if you just have more units than him, and his trade is going for free, like this, even sending 1 or 2 spearmen on patrol would have Okay, now you send 2 Geyser Raiders, that's fine. He already completed 1, 2, 3 trades back and forth. Okay. And this is kind of the like if you had Ghazi Raiders here, you would like mow him down. Obviously he would make more Spearmen, but then you're playing Ghazi Raiders Archer versus Spearman Keshik. And that's gonna be a pretty good one for you. What happened to Ghazis on top? I think you moved them, right?
I had 2 or 3 Gauss Raiders up top, and I think I might have pulled them back here. I also lost one, I think, to a tower or something. Oh, does he have towers up yet? It's later, so I might just have pulled them back.
Okay. So here you can see how he immediately gained some ground, and now he's making horticulture, and now he's making Bloomberry as well. Like he's getting more and more of his upgrades because the trade is already kicked in at this point, and it's no longer like an unfavorable matchup because now you are on the back foot. He has the map control, he has the trade, and he has the cavalry advantage, so he can harass you, but you can't really harass him. Like your only chance at this point is to do a massive push with army, and that's it. But at this point, you don't know if he's gonna age up and go men-at-arms or if he's gonna keep massing units, which is why most of the time people always opt for Ghazi Raiders or for cavalry in general. Because, yeah, if you move across the map and then he is massing units, you just die. And now the army count is equal. Again, the walls not doing too much. He got through them. So if we look at eco right now, he actually has a lot more. Not a bit more, a lot more. He has like 2,100 income, and you have like 1,819, which should be the opposite at this point.
So here's a classic Valdemar blunder, actually getting cut off here, which is one of those situations where it's just, you know, GG. But I think not doing the walling obviously wouldn't have been in this situation at all, and it's pretty much already lost at this stage. Not because it's Vortex, but because the trade is up and running, and you know,
and
also
too
because
much
it's Vortex. Yeah, so
even when pastures, the thing is, this game could have been even worse for you if he went for the deer. I'm assuming he didn't want to risk like opening up more, you know, ways to harass. But pastures slow down your eco a lot. I mean, it's like making farms. So
yeah.
He even went pastures, and if he went deer, he would have had more units because the income would be higher. But yeah, the moment you give up map control, it's just rough from then on out. Because you cannot let the trade happen at all. The only way I can see like letting the trade happen is if you somehow do some harassment and then age up to castle and then make like knights, and then you go back in and kill the trade kind of thing. But if you're both in feudal and he has trade, you're not gonna win that, even with sacred sites, because the trade obviously gives a lot more.
So now we're talking about trade. What in the case of Deerstones, obviously not super popular, but let's say we're playing on Gorge, right? Not a typical Mongol pick, but let's say you're playing against Deerstones. How is the Mongol going to play differently here compared to trade?
I mean, you can still go trade with Deerstones. It's just slower trade, but more units early on. Because you're not committing to trade immediately. Maybe you delay the trade a bit, and then you make more units, and your economy at your base is going to be better, but your traders are going to be bigger investment, basically. Because they're going to be, you know, more expensive, and they're going to build slower. So you can play it the same way. Like, the Mongol is probably going to be more aggressive to try and do damage. So as long as you get Ghazi Raiders, and, you know, play around that, deny the tower, then he's not going to have much to go on of. We can also, by the way, at any of these matchups, we can also do a game, and I'll play the civ that you lost with, just to see the difference in... It's not just about unit comp, it's all about, like, with Mongol and Delhi, it's all about tempo. So if you lose tempo with Delhi, not only you lost it, but he gained it as well, right? And it's both are tempo civs. Like, you probably had games with Mongol where something doesn't work out, and like after that you just lose, and it's like, wow, this sucks. And then sometimes your tower goes up, you kill a villager or two, the trade goes untouched, and then the opponent has like no units. So it all kind of adds up.
Yeah, I think in terms of playing games, currently I would just like to analyze the games, then we can talk about it afterwards. That's cool?
Yeah, sure. But yeah, at this point, this is what I was saying earlier, right? Your only chance is all-inning at some point, right? Because if your armies are even and you go to harass with Gazi Raiders, if you get pushed, you're gonna lose everything, so... So, yeah.
That was really helpful. Very interesting to talk about that matchup.
Yeah.
Not super familiar with Delhi, and that stable opener, even though they have a barracks going and the tower up, is something I'm going to try for sure. That's very interesting.
I love Delhi.
I know.
It's all about that pressure. I noticed, like, when I lose with Delhi, it's usually when I open barracks.
Right. Okay.
I feel like it's just so bad. So this matchup, we got Delhi again, is once again all about pressure. But if you manage to survive with Byzantines, in my opinion, you have a massive advantage. So this is the matchup reminds me of Malian, and not Malian actually, Ottoman versus Delhi. That's what it reminds me of. Where Ottoman can actually die super early, like at 7 minutes. Ottoman can just lose everything, and Delhi gets Sacred Sudden and you're dead. But if you get past that point, Ottoman is favored. So in this one, because the way Byzantines work, I feel like is very, very similar. Like if you can make mercenaries and limit an A, then you have way better comp. Like your unit comp is just better. But if you take too much damage early on, then you're in a lot of trouble.
Very good point. The way that I approached this game was with the Hippodrome, and then into a barracks to deal with the Ghost Raiders that might come from that, raiding, and then just trying to deal with the Sacred Sites. Though kind of a little bit unsure what to do once getting beyond the point where, you know, we have to expand eco into 2 directions. Obviously, a little bit difficult for me to figure out against Delhi with such an aggressive player like Vortex.
Yeah, so if you go Hippodrome, you have to open bears. If you don't go Hippodrome, you open with sheep. Because
if you don't go Hippodrome, you go.
No,
so
if you do go Hippodrome, you have to open with berries, like straight from the get-go.
Yeah,
because
okay,
you want to, the moment you age up, you want to make a horseman and then start a mercenary house very soon after that and get the javelin throwers or longbows or whatever, you know, civ you're playing. Doesn't matter if it's Delhi or another civ, but if you open Hippodrome, you should be going for berries because it's very, especially these kinds of matchups. English is the same. Like if you go Hippodrome, you need to go berries early so that you can get javelin throwers to kill the longbows. Or you can go longbows or whatever else.
Okay, that's very interesting, because what I've been doing so far is the second production building comes up a little bit later, but then the mercenary camp follows kind of soonish after. This is a wheelbarrow build, and with some pretty fast horsemen, so the plan is to early do some delays on the Delhi player.
What are you looking to delay though?
I'm trying to cause some idle time here to possibly delay sacred sites and stuff, just by having the cavalry out, dealing with early archers that are obviously going to counter my spearmen to counter the Ghastly Raiders.
Okay. Because right now, you can't really harass him too much. So now you're going to go on bears and he's just going to go under TC. So instead, what you can do is instead of making the cavalry now, you can just get all the upgrades now, instantly, and get the cavalry later. Because like I said, you're going to harass, he's just going to go under his town center. And that's it. He doesn't need gold, he doesn't really need berries at this point. Even though Ghazi Raiders are going to beat your horsemen. So, this is kind of, it's funny because what's happening right now is, to an extent, something that happened that should have happened last game. So he's not opening spearmen against your cavalry. He's just making Ghazi Raiders because he knows Ghazi Raiders are going to kill your horsemen, and he can heal them up too. So he's just trying to fight you. Even if you turn around with second horseman, he's still going to fight one of the horsemen to damage it as much as possible, and then he's going to go back and heal it up. So that's not going to be an issue for him. And now he's going into blacksmith, so his economy is growing quite a bit. Meanwhile, you have to think, like, what did you accomplish with this? He was going to make Ghazi Raiders anyway. He didn't delay the berries even. He's still on them. He didn't delay the wood, didn't delay the gold. And you could have gotten, for, what's that? The cost of 4 horsemen. This one you could have gotten horticulture and double broadaxe. And actually probably started like blacksmith or something. To get all the upgrades. The longer you wait with the upgrades, the more behind in economy eventually you will be. Because he will have those upgrades soon. And the more you delay it, the less you gain from it. And also it's a lot harder to get upgrades later on than get them earlier on.
So your suggestion is to play a slower approach and then play Limited, possibly javelins, and then focus one sacred side at a time after having gotten the upgrades, or what?
Yeah, I actually played this matchup recently against Vortex. It was on Gorge, and I won with Byzantine.
Okay, and how did you do that?
I wish I had the replay, but it's probably long gone. So yeah, I open with the other landmark. And the only time I like opening with this landmark when I play against a non-cavalry civ, or against a civ that I can actually do something super early on against. But I just did winery. The moment I had winery up, I put like 8 villagers on berries, and then behind that I just went barracks, Limited, mercenary house, and I got javelin throwers immediately. So I got Limited. By the time his archers started arriving, I had javelin throwers, and I had 3 on gold as well the whole time to slowly get the upgrades.
And what about after? You're playing a pretty slow composition. I mean, javelins are fast, but Limited, obviously they're spearmen, they're not cavalry. What did you do after with the Delhi mobility?
So you have to survive until you have at least 10 javelin throwers, and then you can start trading. And I think you can also go like double or even triple barracks, by the way. So you just make Limited and you use 5, 10, 20, or like 15 javelin throwers to kill the archers. So you have to make sure that you're gonna win the fight. Because if you don't win the fight, you always come back to the point where you're not going to be retreating from Ghazi Raiders, right? So this is something you need to practice and get a feel for. Okay, I can move out now, or I can't move out now. But even if the opponent has a sacred site or 2, it's not a big deal. Because your army is way stronger. Like, it's not even comparable how much better it is. So the longer the game goes and you're both in feudal, you're fine. Like, the only thing you don't want is taking damage, or him having like 3 sacred sites completely uncontested. So right now, Vortex, because he's, you know, a very, very good player, he doesn't need to risk by, you know, taking some crazy sacred sites. What he's doing right now, he's not walling, he's capturing the bottom one, because he's gonna protect sacred site, this one with his army, and then probably the bottom one with the same army. Unless he loses the scholar. And he's not walling because of the thing I told you. Why would he wall when he can just make more units? And if he's paying attention and if he's doing his job properly, you cannot contest sacred site anyway. Okay, you're getting some harassment, but 1 villager for 2 or 3.
No,
that was 3 actually.
Was it 3? Yeah, it was
3. That was not worth. So right now, if you look at this game, 650 units lost. Those are pretty much all horsemen, and he still got sacred size at 815 capped. He still got his 2 scholars. He's still on berries, so they didn't really accomplish anything.
The goal is, instead of trying to do damage to the eco, play a little bit slower and then actually deal with something like the sacred sites instead.
Yeah, like try to prepare your economy better for the eventual engagement. At this point, I think the game is already over.
Oh yeah.
I know it doesn't, like, for some people it might not look like that, but this is over. The chance of the sacred site recapture is non-existent for the next few minutes. He's gonna capture the third one, and now he got all his production. And the moment he captures the sacred site, he's gonna put one scholar in each of these, and then just spend units. Meanwhile, on the other side, what's up, Dante? Sorry about that. Meanwhile, on the other side, you ran out of berries, so your mercenaries are out. Like, you know, you're having your one longbow coming out, and that's it. And then your sheep are going to run out. Let me see how many you have. Yeah, you have 4. So all he needs to do is rally army forward and wait for you to go on food source and then just kill you. Now, you do have these really good berries in the corner, but if that berry patch was like somewhat forward, the game is pretty much over, because he's going to force you into a fight, and then his army production is a lot higher. Even if he trades poorly at this point, like let's say he kills a unit and you kill a unit and a half, the gathering that he has is going to be a lot higher. So, yeah, he's capturing the third one. Again, he's defending with units, and you can see he's got all 3 sacred sites. He might, like, if he could, by the way, wall off all the way to the bottom one, because it's kind of too far away. But the middle 2 he can defend very easily, because he's going to be attacking where he is at now. So that's basically, his army is going to be in between there, so he can defend both. And because all the pressure is off of him, look at him, he's putting 13 villagers all the way in the open, because you're probably not going to be raiding at this point. And even if you are, he can just go for it, like Vortex knows how to just, you know, zug, run into town center and just kill as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, and the more villagers you put on the berries as well, if he's already taken out a lot of horsemen, even if it's a couple of horsemen, then it's not going to matter, because they could just take out the horsemen themselves.
Yeah. So he's going to just recap Sacred Site, and he's just massing units, because I mean, that's the Delhi way. He doesn't need to do much else. And I think because you don't have the winery landmark, you had one less set of mercenaries, because with the landmark you'll have 2, and you will be the one that runs out of food first, most likely, because he has the improved berries. Obviously you have the boar, but that's going to be pretty far away to get, and the farm transition is going to be pretty rough to happen in this matchup. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws down the market and just buys food and buys wood, so he's going to have even more food after that. And right now he's just trying to fight you. He's just trying to trade. He doesn't stay back, because if he stays back, then you're gonna send these horsemen around. So then he just runs in, mows you down, and because he has map control, you don't really know where the units are, right? So if he goes back, even if you have a scout, I mean, he can send his spearmen and archers on the bottom, and he can send his Gazi raiders at the top, and something's gonna take damage eventually. And yeah, longbows, I personally think javelin throwers are probably the best thing you can go for, because they just counter the archers so well, and Limitane kill everything else. So Limitane will kill Gazi raiders, spearmen, and to an extent they're gonna still do well against archers. And longbows, you know, having 5 or 10 is really good against civs where you can like snipe out units, but when you're playing against Delhi, even if you snipe 10 units, he's got 52, so it doesn't really...
So what do you mean by sniping out units? When would you take longbows over javelins then?
Probably against English.
You would go longbows against the English instead of javs?
Yeah, if you go hippodrome against English, then you have, you know, the cavalry advantage, and then he's gonna go spearman, play a bit passive, and then when he's ready to push out, you go longbows. Because dealing with his spearmen is going to be a lot easier with longbows than with archers. Because the problem is, if you go javelin throwers against English, what are you going to make against spearmen?
Yeah, and that's the whole reason you're going with the horseman opener, right? To force the spearmen out.
Yeah.
To lay longbows.
So basically, if you play javelin throwers, and he just makes pure longbow, first of all, you're gonna die, because he is going to make more longbows than you will javelin throwers, because you don't have berries. So that's not going to work out. So you want to force him into Spearman. And then you can later on, if you want, even add archer ranges. Or if the fights went well, you can transition to farms earlier so you can continue javelin thrower production. Both work. But yeah, at this point, I mean, like I said, this is a pretty tough one. Not much has happened, but his army is a lot stronger now, and obviously he's aging up too. That's kind of the point how far ahead he is. He has a better army now, and he's aging up too. So you're about, you know, over 2,000 resources behind.
So let's assume I played Limited Javelins and I've taken some good trades, but the game is still kind of even. What's my victory condition?
Just force fights. Your army is a lot stronger. I actually can find I can find a game. Give me a second. I think I know how to find it. I'll find it on
VOD Finder, right? On AOE4.
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do. But I need to. Escape, I don't know if you're in the chat. Can you find that through AOE4 VOD Finder? This was probably within last, I want to say 10 days. It was on Gorge, Delhi versus Byzantine. It was versus Vortex. And I think I played on my main account. And now you're forced to push. And all he has to do is just delay a bit. Maybe, probably not even bother getting upgrades. Probably just spam men-at-arm knights.
It's funny how this game looks exactly the same right now as the last one. Just on the other way around.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's just, you know, playing against these, like, aggressive and top players, the early game, if it goes bad, it's really hard to recover. Again, supplies and everything might look like, oh, it's super close game kind of thing, but yeah, if you look now, it's... The biggest problem is not actually winning this fight, by the way. That's not the issue. The issue is you're never aging up.
Yeah.
Because, let's say this traded evenly, and you're both left with 2 units. He is putting scholars in stables and barracks, and he's making men-at-arms knights. And... there's 0% chance you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll just save up and age up. Like, that is never happening, so. Alright, let's check the last one.
So what are you looking for when you analyze a victory? How clean
nothing.
the game is?
I don't watch wins.
Right, okay.
Because it's like, if you won, you did stuff right. Could you have played better? Sure, but if you lose, it's better to focus on those. Because also, most of the time, like the way I feel about it, about winning, is like if you won, your opponent probably played bad. So looking at what I could have done better is kind of pointless because he played worse. So I should look at the games where my opponent played well instead, and what I could learn from that. So I don't really ever watch wins. Unless I'm like not sure that's like what happened or something, like I'm confused why didn't he have units or something like that. I don't really bother with it. Thank you guys that also tried to link it. Okay, let's go through this one quickly. But yeah, this is a very good matchup for Abbasid. One of the things regarding Abbasid is I don't think it's, I mean, not just me, but everyone. It's just not a very good civ in a best of 3. It can be a very good civ in a best of 5 or 7, because it's very matchup dependent, and this is one of the matchups that Abbasid is actually really good at. Like, if you take Malian as a civ, and then, you know, it does well against most of the civs, but actually does pretty bad against Abbasid. So Abbasid is good here, but against most civs it's just too risky to go against it. Or to pick it and then risk getting like a, you know, bad matchup. So one build that I like as Abbasid here that you can do but you don't need to. It accomplishes more or less the same. But you can also do the stable, making like 2 horsemen ram, and then just making a second TC. Because this, he will defend it with an archer range. And that's it. He can just make javelin throws and that's it. But if you make horsemen too, even 2 horsemen, he has to make donzos because he doesn't know how many horsemen you're gonna make. And then the game is in like a really, really awkward situation for him. And you can even start making a ram and then cancel it as like to fake your opponent because they're gonna be like, oh fuck, he's seriously committing. He's even making barracks here, which he doesn't need it. But yeah, this archer harassment is already pretty painful for him. So already pretty good damage. I mean, this is a very good start. Part of the reason why why Malian struggles against Abbasid. And like right now, I don't know if you go ahead and just spam units, but you can actually just rush castle from here on out as Abbasid, or you can just fully commit to making units. Now, I personally dislike committing to feudal with Abbasid, because if the game gets long enough, you're probably losing against most civs. Because they have like javelin throwers, they have knights, they have whatever else, and you just have horseman, archer, and camels that suck.
So the way that I think about the Abbasid is, a lot of the upgrades that you get from the Castle Age are highly dependent on you actually having an army, such as composite bows, boot camp, and yeah, so I think like playing long feudals necessarily isn't a bad thing because you got the second TC. Obviously the cow boom is going to be very strong and it's going to outboom that second TC. But you got the golden ages and you've got the pressure going on. You're forcing your opponent to make units. I kind of see why you would go for the fast castle approach, but I feel like it's risky.
It depends how much you delay everything. Like right now, you could, like very soon, you could be aging up already. And then if you're aging up, from then on out, you can just produce, whatever, knights, gulams, archers. There's nothing wrong with doing this, by the way, but if you want to do this, that's fine. I would just change the order. I would just open with stable first. You could do more damage if you went stable first. Because you would get to a similar point, except he would have like 5 cows less. And you would have a villager or 2 less, but you would be able to boom a lot harder because you would have more map control early on. Like you could be denying the wood line longer with the archers because you would have horsemen killing the the gold mine over there that he had and stuff like that. So yeah. A lot of people have actually... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so I was just thinking about that castle build, because I'm quite interested in what you think about comp-wise afterwards, considering, especially in this matchup, Malians have Musafati warriors dealing with the Gulams. It's kind of easy, and same for the siege isn't a particularly big deal if they mass. Musafati, if your opponent's going, or if you are going Gulam, what are you doing here? Are you going straight into archers instead, or...?
If you're doing this, where you go horseman archer, I would just continue horseman archer probably for the rest of the game. Not for the rest of the game, but for a very, very, very long time. Like, you just hit castle, you upgrade both horsemen and archers, you get composite bows, and you basically just mow everything down. And then what you have is horsemen to do the raids. Now, if he transitions to sofas, if you see the stables, you have to go barracks immediately. Because if you go horseman and you go sofa, you're not going to win that, right? So, and preferably, so crossbows and spearmen counter the sofas, right? So in this matchup, or with Abbasid, you would rather go spearmen and keep the archers to kill other stuff because your archers are better than your crossbows. So it doesn't make sense to go into crossbows and then go like gulams. It's a lot better to go spearmen plus archers if you want to deal with sofa plus Musafati or whatever else. Because your archers are basically your biggest strength. And once you go that point, like if you make let's say the game is a bit further away, But if you make a Mangonel with like army that's like this or a bit bigger, you're gonna lose it. But if you have like 50 archers and you have 30 spearmen, that Mangonel is not dying. And then if you enter this game where he's going Springles and you're going Mangonels, that's never gonna work out for him because he doesn't have as good of an economy as you do. So that's just a losing battle.
Yeah, and goes with your same initial argument when we talked about contracts and going longbows and javelins, why spearmen is just better.
Yeah, so like Gulams are obviously very good. Like if you get him into a position where he has this army and now you go Gulams, for example, and he's like, oh shit, I need to make Musafaris, then you kind of got him stuck in that Unicom. But if he has all the space in the world and he just goes Sofa, then it's kind of, the game goes the other way a little bit. So it's a lot about who has the tempo and who can do what. Like right now you can do whatever you want, right? You have a faster age up. You have, he cannot move out because he doesn't know, again, how big your army is. He doesn't know if you're still producing. So if he goes out and loses the army, the game's over. You can also, like right now, you can go to the left, break the walls, like just try to harass wherever you can. And at this point, like I said, you can go barracks, you can continue on the horseman production. Personally, what I would do is I would probably upgrade horseman archers +1 and composite immediately. And I would already be switching to Gulam Spearman. Because no matter what happens, you will be ending up in that position most likely. Right? Because he will transition to Sofa at a point. Because you kind of have to with Malians. Like you cannot just stick to making Javelin Thrower Donzo. Because you're going to get killed by Mangonel eventually. So you kind of need to do that. You can also make a couple of knights, you know. It's not a big deal. Okay, pushing in like I just mentioned on this side. Now you break, run in. Like now he would instantly send a horseman to the other side because he has no scouting. He doesn't know where you are. So now you can just send horsemen to the gold on the top side. Kill that too, maybe a little bit. Okay, you're getting... I would upgrade horsemen too, by the way, as well.
I didn't get the horseman upgrade here, which I was kind of annoyed about, but I wanted to get Gulam as well.
Okay.
I prepared the barracks here, so... My idea was to go into Gulams, archers, and then play siege with a keep drop.
I mean, that's one of the strengths of Abbasid. It's like, if you don't take damage and then you just pop a Mangonel, like, this is terrible for him now. Like, this is the reason why I always tell people, because sometimes people in my Twitch chat watch these games, and they're like, why don't people play Abbasid? Well, this is the matchup where Abbasid is the one, like, dictating the tempo, and they can do whatever, and if you reach to castle with Abbasid without taking damage, you're in a really good spot. So now it's like, you can even just stand here, right? You don't need to go in or anything, you just keep doing this, and he's gonna be in a lot of trouble. Yep, there it is. And now you just rally. And because of this, right, this is why it's important to be aggressive. Because you're attacking, he can't go Sofas. He actually added more barracks and archer ranges. Because if you were like super passive or something and you didn't use your army, then he has time to transition to Sofas. But if you just keep going, then it's a lot harder, right? He has to make units. He can't invest into upgrading so many things. So yeah, at this point, the way Abbasid works, which you know, is you actually outproduce him, which is pretty funny. At this point, it's a GG. You can also, I would probably say just focus on getting relics pretty much immediately if you have the map control, no matter what city you play. But especially with Abbasid, because you're quote-unquote not supposed to get them in most matchups, right? So when you can get them, make sure you do. Now, you going keep here? Or why are you going stone, for a keep?
Yes.
Okay. By going keep, you're actually delaying the game right now.
Right.
So instead of getting a keep, you could have made like a Mangonel and a ram and just went for it. Because if you go for a keep, you're gonna mine the stone, and then you need to move those villagers, so you're actually gonna lose more resources than that. So you could just fully commit to finishing the game. That's another thing that I noticed, like the top players do, is when they notice they can finish the game, because we used to do this back in the day, where it's like, okay, I got an advantage, now I'm gonna drop a keep in his base or something to, you know. But if you just made more units, you can most likely just end the game, because his unit comp is very, well, lacking.
Right, so if I had about 10 more Ghulams, then I would still be inside his base. Jabs would still be doing nothing, and Archers would take out the most fighting.
I mean, you can have 10 Ghulams right now on the left side breaking the wall into the gold, and then you can attack the cows. I don't like the attacking path, by the way. Initially it was fine, because that's where his wood was, so attacking in between was fine. Now I would rotate this army to the right and just kill the cows, and the gold as well. Because right now, what is happening is for the past minute or so, you've been standing here killing archer rangers. And for him, he's like, fuck yeah, let's wait a bit more because I need more units. So if you were putting pressure already, killing cows, you're actually like doing real damage. Because now he's just losing archer ranges, which is not really a big deal, right?
Right, so it's actually a bunch of mistakes here that are being made. The only reason that they don't really matter so much is because I've already won the game eco-wise, right? Is that how I'm supposed to take this?
I mean, it's not a bunch of mistakes necessarily, because again, this is why I don't watch wins. Because you did win, so it's not mistakes, but it could have been optimized better, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have 10 archers and you're playing against 20 spearmen, and let's say you lose 2 archers. Well, you won the fight and you won the game, but obviously you shouldn't have lost any archers there, right?
Yeah.
You could have gone without it. So that's how you should see this. Like, yeah, you did the right thing, you won the game, but I'm saying that if the game was slightly less advantageous for you, and maybe he was a bit ahead, if you push through here, it would have maybe given him enough time to gather an army and kill you. Where if you went through the cow side, even if you lose the fight, let's say you destroy 4 of these enclosures, cattle ranches, that's a lot of damage done, plus you kill the cows. So even if you lose the battle, then it's not so bad anymore. And you didn't do anything, right? The only thing you did is you went around. It's not like you committed to making different units or whatever else. You just chose another attack path. I mean, even attacking to the left side, where his other goal is also fine. As long as you're hitting the resources, that's all good. Alright, this is super over. So yeah, I think, like I said, they're not necessarily mistakes, but there's just better angles to attack through. It's like the earlier on thing that I said. Could you have gone for stables first into a ram straight away? What you did is not necessarily a mistake, but in my opinion, the stables first is better. Because you put a lot more pressure on your opponent, and also, I don't know how many sheep he got because I wasn't paying attention, but if he didn't get a lot of sheep, and you force him into this, like, let's fight immediately, then he's gonna be struggling quite a bit to even produce units, and he needs to kill cows for food, then he needs actual gold, so then everything is even more delayed. And you're only really delaying your TC by, you know, a little bit compared to what he has to do. Because again, he has to overproduce in order to defend your push. Because that's the best part about attacking. You know what you're gonna do, where you're gonna attack, and when you're gonna stop. He doesn't. The only thing he sees is units are coming, so he needs to keep producing, otherwise he's just dead.
Just wondering if you go for the, and am I hearing this correctly? Did you say horsemen into ram with the military wing units? Okay.
Yeah. So you don't commit to more archers. You just basically. This used to be very popular for a while, and this is part of the reason why Malian was struggling even more. So as you age up, you throw down stables. You basically put a lot of workers on wood. You produce 2 or 3 horsemen or whatever, 4 is fine. And then the moment you have enough wood, you make a ram as well. So what happens is, he has to make javelin throwers. He's gonna make javelin throwers first, because that's most of the time what they do, right? Then when the horseman arrives, he's like, oh shit, I need to make Donzo. He starts making Donzo, the ram is finishing or is done, and then you send the ram straight for the gold pit. So then he cannot kill that ram, right? He will either have to pull villagers or he's losing the pit mine. Because obviously he's not gonna kill the ram with 2 Donzos, right, at that point. So if you kill the pit mine and you lose the ram, it's completely fine. And if he doesn't have the second gold pit mine, then just kill the first one. And behind it, you go second TC. So the game will end up being in the same spot, except you'll be further ahead. So if you seem like giga committing to whatever, like let's say you go horseman and you see like he didn't go for the second pit mine and you feel like, okay, I can't do anything, just make a horseman or 2 and then get a second TC and ditch the ram. Or start making the ram and then cancel it and just get a second TC. Because again, he doesn't know if there's more horsemen. Sometimes people won't properly scout, so he doesn't know if there's archer ranges either. And then by the time he figures out what's up, you're already ahead because he overcommitted to units. And then he's like, oh shit, I made, 6 javelin throwers and 6 donzos for 2 archers, 2 spearmen, and 2 horsemen. So then he's gonna be like, oh, I'll counter push. And by the time he counter pushes, you started your unit production again. But he needs to make cows, right? And pit mines. But now he can't because he also needs to go back to unit production. So it's all about the tempo. It's like I said earlier with the Byzantine Delhi upgrades. It's very hard to fit in the upgrades later on. You want to get them somewhat quickly. So I have the game right here. So I misplaced my cistern. I should have put it right from my town center so it gets the berries and the golden start. And then the second cistern should have been next to the wood line. So I kind of done goofed that. But, it is what it is. So you can see we both aged up here. And I'm going for enough oil. Why am I talking in game? I'm immediately going limit an A. I'm checking what he is going for, right? I see stable. Okay, perfect. That's fine. The timing is exactly the same. I don't need to worry. I don't need to stress. I'm getting double broadaxe already. Speed up. We don't want to be here all day. And if you look at oil count right now, I have 400.
At about 530, yeah.
My mercenary house is finished. I'm trying to get the tower because, again, it's all about just not taking damage because I still need a lot of gold, right? This is not like, oh, I can move away. I need to get horticulture. I need to get blacksmith upgrades and yeah. So this was a bit annoying because I upgraded the house upgrade for vision, but this was a hill, so I didn't get like any vision up there. Because my berries are on the hill, I don't know if you see, I have like no vision above it, even though I'm right there. So that was a bit unfortunate.
Is it intentional you're going for that vision upgrade first? Is it just for the berries so you can react quicker, or are we talking
It's just because he's Delhi.
Eco instead?
Yeah, it's just because he's Delhi. Like, sometimes I get it against French as well. Like, I feel like the same way against French or against JD. If I don't take damage, they're gonna lose after. So, me investing, like, a bit of gold and whatever the second resource is, I think it's wood and gold, to gain more vision, like a watchtower almost, that's fine for me. So right now, I have 2 barracks, I have mercenary house, I'm getting javelin throwers, and I'm already trying to wall these berries for later. Because obviously I'm going to run out of food at a point, so I need to pick which side I'm going to secure first. Especially because it's gorge, you either go up or down. There's no real other choice. So he's capping the sacred sites. Oh yeah, here was very unfortunate. As I was about to wall off the last part, he found my villagers.
A lot versus Vortex.
Yeah. So I think here he actually commits, and then he ends up losing a couple of Ghazis, but that's fine. So now he has 3 sacred sites. And it looks scary, but again, my army is stronger, so the longer the game goes, the better this is going to be for me. So at this point, you kind of have to decap a sacred site, because if you don't, you're risking a sacred site loss, right? If it reaches like 5 minutes, he might just fully commit. So you need to keep track if he is committing to feudal or he's gonna age up. I like to keep 8 on wood, and I just make limit an A, and I just throw up a farm every once in a while. Like whenever I have a lot of extra wood, I just throw down another farm.
Okay.
And that way you kind of keep up your mercenary production. But you want to try and make sure you're always on berries as long as they're lasting, because you want to be producing javelin throwers.
Yeah, jabs are really the core here, right?
Yeah. I mean, limit an A, don't die, and then you have javelins that mow down archers, so... So the way he's playing here, by the way, he kept running around and avoiding the fights. So I figured he's probably trying to age up, so I wanted to push. And you can see, like, I've defended this wall like 2 times. I mean, I'm skipping through, but I've defended this wall 2-3 times, and he keeps running around. So he's not trying to catch my army off guard. He's not trying to deny my gold. He's just trying to be like annoying, and that's what people usually do when they try to, you know, age up behind it. So even here, I saw him break the wall, and then he just ran back. So here's where I decide to follow his Ghazi, because I'm trying to look for a fight. I want to fight. So I'm just trying to follow his army, because I was worried he is aging up. He does age up. Now, the great part about this is I immediately go for a crap ton of gold. I have 30 on food, by the way. So my food eco is really, really strong. So I'll be able to age up in like a minute with this eco. Now, the good thing about javelin throwers is, let's say he was making men-at-arms right now. The javelin throwers actually do pretty good damage against them. So as long as I deny food now, he cannot spam units. And I'm trying to obviously fight while our armies are equal before he gets his upgrades. Because if he gets his upgrades, then yeah, that's not gonna work out for me too well. So this is where I just do the push, and you can see the Ghazi Raider count is pretty low. Even if I A-move these limit an A, he would not be able to kill them in time because of the shield wall ability. And now I go for production, because I know, you know how Delhi is at this point. It's like you're struggling, you're like, oh shit, I gotta get the relics, I gotta get the units out. And obviously I don't know where he's upgrading his veteran upgrades, so I just decide to kill the production one by one. The sacred sites are decapped. So now he either needs to rely on relic gold or mine gold. So after killing that archer range, I'll just rotate to the other side to try deny gold and the other food sources, and I'm aging out behind this. So if you look here, he has both production buildings here, because I was on top, so he rebuilt them at the bottom. So now I just go for them and just destroy them. He's making more, he's losing more, now he starts losing the villagers. And yeah, some knights are trickling in. And you can see he wants to stay on archers plus knights, but this is the second archer range that went down, and it had scholar inside, so he's clearly trying to buy time to upgrade. His food just ran out on the right side that I just saw. He's not mining gold, so I know that he doesn't have a lot of gold, so he cannot produce like men-at-arms or knights because, well, literally no gold. He has, I think, 3 or 4 relics, but that's not going to be enough. Puts another scholar inside, and you can see how much I'm forcing the fight, right? Because I don't want the upgrade for him to finish. And at this point, the archer count is actually so low that it doesn't really matter. He's like 10, 15 archers. And my age up completes. I have shield wall. You can use this little nuke over here to micro. And let's say this stabilizes. Let's say I go back. Oh yeah, I'm harassing here too. So let's say this stabilizes somehow, and I go back, and then he's in a situation where he has Lancer Archer, and he has 5 relics. Let's say I don't take a single one. I already kind of have farm transition slowly happening. I still have deer, 2 packs of deer actually. I'm not gonna count the berries because it's like very low amount left, but I have farms too. So I have about 5,000 plus food in those berries and in the deer remaining. And I can also go for the boar. Meanwhile, he only has the deer pack on the right side, bottom right side, because the deer pack just to the right is gone, and then the berry patches on the top is gone. So he basically is completely out of food, and he's gonna need to transition to farms. And if he does do that, the game gets delayed, and obviously Byzantine is gonna beat Delhi. So that's why Delhi is very tempo based, and that's why Byzantine, as long as you don't take damage, you'll be fine later on. Because you could see that even when we had equal army count, he still kept running because he knows if he engages, that's going to be a losing fight.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of looks scary, but like attacking and stuff like that. And I always kept trying to see, is he making more units? Is he, aging up? Is he whatever? Because if I saw like another 10, 15 Gazi and 10, 15 archers, then he's committing feudal. And then we're in the same situation, right? Where he's going to run out of food and I'm not. So if I just went on one of my deer packs and put my whole army there, he's not going to win that fight. Because again, my army is better. So that's kind of how you have to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Any questions?
I don't think so, because I don't have enough experience playing binary to really challenge it too much. I'm just taking it in. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
Don't really have too many questions here. I think I have to try it out.
Yeah, regarding Abbasid, like I said, the one thing is probably the attack point where you went was like, if you want to call it the biggest mistake. Everything else was fine. Again, optimizing stables first instead of TC, and then that's optimizing in that style. But try it and see how it goes. Mm-hmm. Regarding the Byzantine game, I mean, we kind of just went through it. I don't think Hippodrome is the way to go. I think you definitely want to go for berries and javelin throwers. And if you're not used to javelin throwers and playing with them, you should practice a bit with them because they... do you play Malians a lot or no?
Not really. I did some time ago,
yeah.
But haven't really brushed up on them lately.
When you start playing with them, they're very overwhelming in terms of micro, because once you get to like 30 javelin throwers, it becomes very hard to make them good. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You need like 6-7 javelin throwers per archer. So if you have 30, you need to individually select and shift queue. And it takes a lot of like microing and APM and all that. But once you get it down, I mean, javelin throwers are one of the most insane units in the game. So they will help you with like Malians, but also with Byzantines, right? And then the Delhi game. I mean, the Delhi game, I can't judge it too hard because I feel like that game was just the biggest problem was the unit comp.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you didn't wall the sacred side, would you win then? I mean, I don't know, but I feel like it's wrong from the get-go. It's like opening up the game and putting 2 villagers on stone. It's like, well, could you have done some other stuff better? It's like, yeah, but you shouldn't have put 2 villagers on stone, in any matchup. So it's kind of like that. The way I feel about it is, if the moment you go Spearman with Delhi, you give up the map control, and that's the whole point of your Civ, is to be the one taking the map control. Because if you have the map control, you have sacred sites. And if you have sacred sites, what you can do is, if you're fighting against Civ that you're better than in feudal, you just make a market and you buy food and wood constantly, and you just completely outmass them.
Yeah, just market abuse.
Yeah. Yep. So I would say probably practice with that, and practice holding the sacred site without using walls.
Mm-hmm.
Now that doesn't mean that you should never wall them, right? Again, there's some situations if the sacred site is too far apart, it's like, I'll just wall it so it doesn't decap it. But try playing without it, and try fully committing to more units. Like, remember that some people are scared, if I overcommit in feudal, then what if he ages up? If any Civ ages up and you're playing Delhi and you're massing units, that guy is fucking dead. Like, you can literally go under TC with your whole army and there is 0% chance he will hold.
Yes.
Because even if he has men-at-arms, Gazi Raiders are going to kill everything. And then archers have attack speed, so, you're more than fine. So I would say those are the things that you can kind of focus on and check out. And that's pretty much it.
This was really, really helpful. Thank you so much. It really gives me some nice pointers, and I think also touches upon some of the things that I personally struggle a lot with, because I was making some notes before this session, thinking I really want to just talk in general about army movement and so on, but it seems that the core of the root of the problem is more so composition and just in general approaching the games. So yeah, my issue is the only thing that I'm really still curious about is consistency, because some days I will play really consistent. I'll have like a good ladder session, or I'll do some best of threes and maybe 2-3 sets of that against a similar skill player and just perform really well. And then other days I just can't even perform in the Warchief Club, right? It's like
what do you think that is?
I hesitate to say that it's because of something IRL. I don't think so. I think obviously it's something about being locked in and being in the flow, and it's just puzzling sometimes. And maybe it's something to do with practice routines. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, you just if you have not necessarily a schedule, but if you're used to just playing X amount of games a day or a best of 3 or whatever, that helps a lot. But also, like, playing ladder and playing best of 3s is completely different, because best of 3 can be RNG regarding which civs you get and which matchups you get, but you try your best to reduce that, right? Because the drafting can give you a pretty big advantage as far as which matchups you're going to play. So I think if you're like just, you want to practice builds or try out stuff, you can just go ladder. But if you want to practice to, draft, get certain advantages and do better in tournaments, then you should definitely practice custom games with drafts specifically.
Okay.
Because, because on ladder you can get like, I don't know, Mongol versus Byzantine on Dry Arabia, but in a tournament that's never happening, Yeah. Like sometimes when I play on ladder, I always tell people like I feel like leaving the game sometimes, because it's like I'm never gonna play this matchup in a tournament. Like it's just never gonna happen. I played the other day, for example, or maybe a week ago, I played HRE versus OTD on Dry Arabia, and I'm like, even if I lose this, it doesn't matter, because it's like it's just never happening, right? So the only thing I personally focus on is like tournaments, and if I lose like Delhi versus whatever, English, French, Malian on Dry Arabia, that's a problem, because those are all realistic matchups that can happen. But if you lose some matchup that's like whatever, who cares? So try to focus on losses and not the wins. It's another good one. But all right, so what I think we should do from here is you go ahead, you play some games, you do some gaming, and then in next week or whenever you feel like it, we can do another one of these and see where we go.
Awesome. That sounds really good. And yeah, thank you so much.
All right, thank you as well. Have a good one, and I'll see you next week.
All right, yeah, we'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good stream.
Thank you.